Weather outside is
weather.
delightful, delightful. But how long will these springtime temperatures last?
And when a ship goes down on Maine's waterways, who gets stuck with the salvage? You asked, we have the answers.
South Portland has banned short-term rentals like Airbnbs in all the city's residential zones. Could this be setting an example for Maine towns in the future? We'll dig in.
The last time he ran for governor, he was an independent. Now he's a Republican seeking the Blaine House. John Moody joins us live in studio to take your questions.
This is News Center Now.
The sun is shining, the jackets are off, and if you did not get out to enjoy the weather today, you are really missing out. Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Keith Carson is doing it right today. Of course he is. He took out to our weather vehicle, Stormy. Keith, how long will this nice weather last? No storm jacket either, huh?
No, I mean, first of all, it's not going to last very long. The front's coming through. That's the end of that. We're in Sanford, which was the warmest spot in the state officially today. Got to 74 degrees. Just ballparking, it's probably sitting in the upper 60s, right around 70 degrees even still right now. Spirits are high here, as they are across much of Maine, the exception being the mountains, perhaps. Officially 68 in Portland. That will change shortly. 74 in Sanford is what we ended up with. 55 in Augusta, and admittedly, a disappointing 54 in Bangor as it stayed kind of socked in through a decent part of the day. Temperatures continue to be mild. Again, as the front comes through, you're going to see them dropping through the evening, and we'll get down in the 30s in most spots. This is a one-shot deal where it's not going to stick around. It's just not an air mass you can sustain this time of the year, and certainly we'll notice by tomorrow that temperatures are back into the upper 30s and low 40s. We have some rain showers along the way that will knock us back down. So, Lee, as I told you, this is a one-day kind of thing. We're actually looking at a couple of shots of snow over the next week or so. So February does return.
It's all right. Rather have it for one day than none at all, so we'll take it. Thank you very much, sir. Complaints of noisy neighbors, packed parking, testy tourists has all led to the strictest short-term rental regulations in Maine to date.
Finding a beach rental in South Portland for you and a group of friends will be nearly impossible with these new regulations. Christina Rex is here with more on that today.
Lee and Lindsay, 2 adults and a baby per room. That's the maximum number of people allowed to rent in any of South Portland's residential neighborhoods. Could this be an example for future Maine tourist towns? We break down the strict new regulations.
South Portland, peaceful neighborhoods.
I'm one who lives next to a house that is constantly has large groups.
Something some residents say has changed with an infiltration of short-term rentals through apps like Airbnb.
That's why non-owner occupied STRs are a problem.
The South Portland City Council agreed in a 6-to-1 vote to implement strict short-term rental restrictions. It's a decisive vote that John Murphy says will take away his livelihood.
We've been painted as villains. We've been painted as carpetbaggers.
He's owned a 2-family home on Willard Beach for 34 years and has rented out one half to tourists. Now, he'll only be able to rent out 1 bedroom.
1 room to 2 people and a baby. That's what I can rent.
Other homeowners won't be able to rent at all, with the strictest set of regulations Maine has seen to date.
Hosted short-term home rentals are allowed all over the entire city. Now, what that means is that the homeowner has to rent out his or her primary residence, and they have to be home while the renters are there. Non-hosted short-term rentals are banned in all residential zones of the city now, so everywhere gray on this map. Also banned, weddings, conferences, large parties, or anything that will create a large gathering at any of these short-term rentals.
There was only one councilor who voted against the measure.
I feel that there are a lot of good folks who are being lumped in with the bad apples, and I wish the process could have taken them more into account.
Good apples, he says, like John Murphy, who isn't sure he'll be able to afford his property on the ocean without his rental income.
I'm being thrown out with the bathwater. It's not right.
Murphy fears for his future and what could happen if this trend continues up Maine's coast.
Now people that aren't of extreme wealth are being forced out of their homes because they can't afford to live there.
City Councilor Eben Rose, who did vote for this measure, wanted us to articulate that technically in these residential neighborhoods, short-term rentals were never allowed, but now this new regulation explicitly prohibits them, guys.
All right, Christina, that'll have a lot of people talking for a while now. Thank you very much. Some top headlines from today. Hannaford warehouse workers form a picket line and refuse to work for 24 hours. The union says with healthy sales and a tax break from President Trump, Hannaford should be offering pay raises and lower health care costs. The grocery store's parent company says it is disappointed by the strike, but customers should not be affected.
Happening right now, President Trump is meeting with survivors of school shootings, parents and teachers, talking about what can be done to address this terrifying string of mass murder. The president vowed tougher background checks and mental health screenings for gun buyers.
Now, some of these student activists are getting blasted on social media. Katie Ortiz explains.
Yeah, Lee and Lindsay, apparently for conspiracy theorists spreading their false messages online, articulate high schoolers who are demanding change after surviving a shooting are too good to be true. Claims that these students are crises actors are running rampant online, even costing an aide to a state representative his job for buying into it. Benjamin Kelly was a secretary for Florida Rep. Sean Harrison before he emailed a reporter this statement. Both kids in the picture are not students here, but actors that travel to various crises when they happen. The reporter says he asked for more information to back that up and was sent a conspiracy video on YouTube. Representative Harrison fired his aide and said he was appalled with his comments and apologized for any pain they caused grieving families. Now, a Parkland student in particular is also the target of conspiracy theorists. David Hogg survived the shooting and has been interviewed on national networks, but critics are latching onto a report from a CBS affiliate in California last year, where they interviewed Hogg over the summer about a confrontation between a lifeguard and a body surfer that was caught on camera. A conspiracy video on YouTube had footage from that report and claimed Hogg was planted to push for anti-gun legislation. That was the #1 trending video today, according to BuzzFeed, but has since been taken down. Now, Senator Marco Rubio condemned the theories, calling them the work of a disgusting group of idiots with no sense of decency. Now, other students who survived the shooting have been speaking out against the conspiracies and slamming critics for even thinking any of this is fake. These stories, by the way, have all been debunked.
All right, Katie Ortiz, thanks so much for that. Well, it's bad enough when your ship sinks, but do you also have to foot the bill for schlepping it out of the water? We answer your questions.
And he's a Maine-made business owner who wants to be our next governor. Send in your questions now. Sean Moody joins us live in studio. Coming up.
All right, the race for the Blaine House is continuing, and today on Now we have gubernatorial candidate Sean Moody joining us. He ran before as an independent, and this go around he is running as a Republican. Sean, good afternoon, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lee, good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, our first question comes from one of our Facebook viewers. David wants to know, how do you look at the new cannabis law?
Well, that's controversial. As an employer, it's very difficult because there's no real way to test it, and federal law kind of trumps, the state law in terms of DOT regulations and things like that. So it's very complicated from an employer's standpoint. So I think that the legislature's really got to be careful and take their time with the regulations to make sure that they make sense, not only just for the average public, but for employers, parents, students. There's a lot at stake here.
Sean, you have a background in business. How will that help Maine constituents?
Well, I'm not a politician. I think that differentiates me from all the other candidates. And, people say you can't run the state like a business. I say we can't afford not to. I think people that have a business background, we've run a business here in Maine for 40 years. We've grown. We've got 11 locations, 185 co-worker owners. It gives you a perspective, and especially small business, you have to wear all the hats, sales and marketing, finance, HR. So we've got broad experience in many of these areas, and I think that's what the state needs right now. Somebody can handle the finances, but actually get our population growing, more opportunities for our young people to stay in the state and come back to the state of Maine. We really got to grow our economy. We got to grow our population. Those are the two major things facing the state.
Now, this is probably one of the questions we were asked the most. And why make the switch? Why, if you were an independent, why decide to become a Republican and run that way?
I think it's a great question. I had never belonged, never joined a party. I think a lot of business people keep their head below the water because, let's face it, our customers are very passionate about politics. You want to alienate your customer base. But you get to a point in your life, it's like, we do have a two-party system. We could argue it's not working. And there's no question, my wife and I, we raised our family in Gorham. I believe in God. We've freedom and liberty. So the Republican values align with who I am and the way we lived our life. And I didn't want to be that individual that was the spoiler, so to speak. You know, there's a system in place. We're going to run hard through the primary, and that's June 12th. So I encourage you all for support and vote for on June 12th. And we're going to carry this right through November.
I think we have time for one more question. Brent wants to know how you will help small businesses succeed in Maine.
Yeah. I think it's important for everyone to understand business confidence is like consumer confidence. And if you have a businessman in the Blaine House, the businesses are going to invest, they're going to take that risk, because they know the person understands what they're up against from the regulatory and tax standpoint, and somebody's got their back. It's going to help them grow and expand. So I think it's vital to have a business person in the Blaine House. All right, Sean Moody, we'll ask you to stick around. We'll take some questions on Facebook from our viewers there. And thank you for your time.
Lindsay.
We appreciate it.
All right. Well, she has spent 6 decades of her life serving others. A lesson on generosity from the greatest generation coming up next.
And the honeymoon is almost over. When does winter move back in? Keith Carson's full forecast just ahead. Imagine spending almost your entire life serving others. That was the choice made by tonight's subject of great stories from the greatest generation.
Meet 76-year-old Sister Ann Fitzpatrick. She has been a nun for almost 60 years. Ann Fitzpatrick grew up in Holton and had a plan to follow in her mother's footsteps. But that plan took a major detour when she was approached about committing her life to the church and becoming a nun.
One day I was arguing with the Lord about why I'd be a great mom and nurse, and this hit me. The very qualities that would make for a good mother, would make for a good sister of mercy.
Sister Fitzpatrick became a nun in 1959 and has worked from Aroostook County to York County and everywhere in between. There is a perception that nuns aren't exactly adventurous. Sister Fitzpatrick does not fit in that mold. At 30 years old, she told her mother that she and 2 other nuns would be climbing Mount Katahdin.
She said, "You are not climbing that mountain without a man." Where do you think 3 nuns are going to find a free man?
It's a great question. Tomorrow night we'll sit down with 95-year-old Bar Harbor native Les Brewer, who is one of the founders of the College of the Atlantic.
Beautiful, scenic college. It would be a great day to head out that way today, or earlier, I guess. Kind of missed my chance at this point, right, Keith?
Yeah, all of us were stuck inside the building on Congress Square that it doesn't actually have windows that open, so it wasn't a great day for us. A great day for much of Maine, though. We're in Sanford because they reached, as we thought they would, the warmest temperature in Maine today at 74 degrees. Portland, though, no slouch. Take a look at Portland's temperature, which smashed the all-time February record. And it's not like it's the 28th of February either. We're doing it in the middle of the month with 68. The previous record was 64 in 1957. And we had a chance for more, but we turned south off the water, and that was the end of that. It was warmer, though, in Sanford, as I mentioned, in the 70s there, and obviously a little bit cooler up towards the mid-coast and into down East Maine. That's where we had temperatures really struggle. And really, we had a problem in Bangor, too. Officially 54. I will tell you, though, it is a cheap 54 that we got in Bangor because most of the day was spent in the upper 40s with some fog stuck there and into Waterville. Out towards Kingfield, they were in the 60s this morning, and we weren't alone. Look at Springfield, 72 right now. Boston was over 70 earlier in the day, and there was an 80 in Lawrence, Massachusetts earlier. Here comes the front. Doesn't have much moisture with it, but you can see some thin showers kind of strung along there, moving their way towards the coastline. That represents the edge of the cooler air that's going to move in tonight. And after that, we're back to reality, right, as temperatures crash through the evening into the 30s for most of us. I don't think we'll see any flash freezing, though. It's gentle enough. Tomorrow, we're in the upper 20s and low 30s, and we get a little light snow that moves over York and southern Cumberland County as the storm stays just to our south. What a contrast from 74 to snow in Sanford by tomorrow afternoon, right around 30 degrees. Snowfall amounts won't be all that high. Friday, we get some more clouds and another messy system moves in Friday night and into Saturday morning. That looks like some sleet, snow in the mountains, and rain along the immediate coastline. So as far as snowfall amounts, we're looking at about an inch or so for most of us. I put 1 to 3 over southern York County to just cover our bases down towards Kittery, down into Portsmouth, New Hampshire as well. Not going to be a huge deal though. Bigger storm system looks to move our way for Sunday. That will start as snow everywhere, probably change to rain along the coastline, but I still think the coast has to watch for the possibility of several inches of snow before we change over. And then it's back to temperatures in the 40s on Monday. By the way, it'll be the upper 40s to around 50 again on Saturday, so nothing like the record-breaking temperatures of today, but we're not exactly going to go into the freezer on this one. For those people who didn't like this weather, the skiers, for example, Lee and Lindsay, well, we will see probably 5 to 8 inches of snow in the mountains this Sunday into Monday, so everybody gets to have their fun here over the 7 days.
Look at that. Keith's just making people happy all over
Everybody
the place.
happy.
Good job, sir. Thank you. So many of us rely on Maine's coastal Route 1.
On a recent drive, you may have noticed something sticking out of the water. And we heard from one of you who wrote in and says a ship sank in Wiscasset Harbor on January 3rd, and it doesn't appear anything is being done about it. I would like to know if anyone is going to clean it up.
So you guys ask the questions, we go get the answers.
It happened the night before the blizzard actually hit.
A World War II minesweeper was moored off the coast of Wiscasset when it went down just a few days into the new year.
We have a couple of boats down there that remain all year long, and this one just happened to go down.
All you can see now is the mast sticking out of the water. Wiscasset Police Chief Jeffrey Lang says there is a protocol to follow when a ship sinks. They called in the Maine Department of Environmental Protection in January, then the Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard has deemed that it is not a threat.
That means it's the owner's responsibility.
He is in the process of finding salvage companies to assist him on getting it out of there.
The minesweeper, like the one you see here, will cost thousands of dollars to haul out of the ocean. This isn't the only wreck dotting Maine's waterways. For nearly 7 years, a boat has sat in the Penobscot River near Hamden. Some residents complain it's an eyesore, but town officials say they have no plans to remove it.
All right, and Cindy Williams joins us now with a look at what's coming up on New Center Maine at 5:30. Hey, Cindy.
Hey, guys. The bump stock ban that the president has authorized could soon be handed down by the feds. But the weapon modifier is also controversial among local gun sellers. Tori Ryden talks to business owners. And because of her illness, she can't go to school every day. But new technology is making sure that she isn't missing any of her lessons or time with her classmates. Those stories just ahead, you guys.
All right, still to come on now, a big win in cross-country skiing, while a big disappointment on the slopes. We're live from South Korea, and your Olympic report coming up.
This is your first and only warning. The leaderboard from Pyeongchang is coming up.
All right, the United States is back into the top 5, actually tied with the Netherlands for total medal count, but with more bronze than silver. Norway expanded its lead once again. And history was made in South Korea last night, the very first time any American woman has won gold in cross-country skiing. Jessie Diggins and Keegan Randall finished first in the team sprint. It was awesome.
Yeah, but with the highs, there are lows. Some medal favorites from America fell short. Paul Gerke joins us live. Paul, what went wrong?
Good evening, Lee and Lindsay. Well, it seemed like everything was going wrong earlier in the day, but a late push by the ladies really salvaged the day for Team USA. I won't spoil too much of it. You're going to see a lot of those events in prime time tonight. But before that, what's the expression? Close only counts and horseshoes and hand grenades, fourth place finishes, unmet expectations. It's sort of been a theme so far for these games. So close, yet so far away from what we expected. A bittersweet end to an outstanding downhill career for Lindsey Vonn, who took bronze in her signature event.
I gave it my best shot, you know. I tried so hard and I worked my butt off.
At 33, she is the oldest woman ever to reach a podium in an alpine skiing event at the Winter Olympics. Barring a change of heart, the Pyeongchang Games will be her last.
I wish I could keep going, you know. My body just can't No, probably can't take another 4 years.
On the ice, the ladies singles competition wraps up tonight with the free skate, but it's unlikely Team USA will medal after disappointing short programs from Mirai Nagasu, Karen Chen, and Brady Tennell, who finished 9th, 10th, and 11th.
We're all human, we make mistakes, so you just gotta get up and put it behind you.
And the dream is over before it really ever began for the USA men's hockey team, bounced from the quarterfinals by the Czech Republic. Tied at 2 through regulation and overtime, the Americans came up empty on all 5 shootout attempts. The Czechs buried 1 to secure a 3-2 win.
You got to keep your head up. We battled hard as a team. We left everything out there. It's a dream come true anytime you get to put the sweater on like this, represent your country, and obviously it's disappointing that we can't move on.
Since the miracle on ice, the men's hockey team has failed to medal in 8 of the 10 Olympic competitions since. The women, though, have been much more successful. They're gearing up for today's clash with Canada, meeting up for the 3rd straight gold medal game. The Canadians, by the way, have won 24 consecutive games in Olympic competition. Their last loss, 1998, against the United States, guys.
All right, Paul, you enjoy that tonight, and I cannot wait for that. That is 11:10 Eastern Standard Time, in case you're wondering. It's going to be shown live on NBC Sports Network, and as Paul mentioned, 3rd time in a row, U.S. and Canada for the gold medal. Canada's won 4 gold medals in a row.
I know, the U.S. needs one right about now.
Tonight's the night.
Tonight is the night.
You know what starts right now, though, right?
News Center Maine at 5:30.